Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles, the complete and annotated edition, workbook for students, part 1 of the workbook, lesson 196, and this is for July 15th. It can be, but myself I crucify. If you're starting on January 1st, of course, you can do this lesson anytime you want. Lesson 196, it can be, but myself I crucify. When this is firmly understood and kept in full awareness, you will not attempt to harm yourself, nor make your body slave to vengeance. You will not attack yourself, and you will realize that to attack another is but to attack yourself. You will be free of the insane belief that to attack a brother saves yourself. And you will understand his safety is your own, and in his healing you are healed. Perhaps at first you will not understand how mercy, limitless, and with all things held in its sure protection, can be found in the idea we practice for today. It may, in fact, appear to be a sign that punishment can never be escaped, because the ego, under what it sees as threat, is quick to cite the truth to save its lies. We'll go ahead and read 421. William Shakespeare, the Merchant of Venice. The devil can cite scripture for his purpose. See also chapter 5 of the text, section 8. Here the ego interprets, it can be but myself I crucify, to mean, my attacks on my brothers will forever condemn me to crucifixion, figuratively speaking, as God's punishment for those attacks. Yet, must it fail to understand the truth it uses thus? But you can learn to see these foolish applications and deny the meaning they appear to have. Footnote 422. This means that you can learn to spot the ways in which the ego would misinterpret the Course and refuse to be taken in by them. This will teach you, as the next sentence says, that you are not an ego. Thus do you also teach your mind that you are not an ego, for the ways in which the ego would distort the truth will not deceive you longer. You will not believe you are a body to be crucified, and you will see within today's idea the light of resurrection, looking past all thoughts of crucifixion and death to thoughts of liberation and of life. Today's idea is one step we take in leading us from bondage to the state of perfect freedom. Let us take this step today that we may quickly go the way salvation shows us, taking every step in its appointed sequence as the mind relinquishes its burdens, one by one. It is not time we need for this, it is willingness. And what would seem to need 1,000 years can easily be done in just one instant by the grace of God. 423. This may be an allusion to 2 Peter 3:8, but do not ignore this one fact, beloved, that with the Lord 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. If so, the Course appears to reframe the Bible verse. The verse is an answer to those who say that the Lord is slow in coming. The answer is that God is not bound by human time. What for us is 1,000 years of waiting is only a day to the Lord. In the above sentence, the fact that God is not bound by human time means that we don't have to wait. The progress that might have taken 1,000 years can be accomplished in an instant. So yes, let me reread that sentence. And what would seem to need 1,000 years can easily be done in just one instant by the grace of God. The dreary, hopeless thought that you can make attacks on others and escape yourself has nailed you to the cross. Perhaps it seems to be salvation, yet it merely stands for the belief the fear of God is real. Footnote 424. When you believe that you can make attacks on others and escape yourself, for example, your attacks on others are not attacks on yourself, and thus have no immediate effect on you, you will also believe that God will eventually catch up with you to pay you back for your crimes. That is why the first belief is the affirmation that the fear of God is real. And what is that but hell? Who could believe his father is his deadly enemy, separate from him and waiting to destroy his life and blot him from the universe without the fear of hell upon his heart? Such is the form of madness you believe if you accept the fearful thought you can attack another and be free yourself. Until this form is changed, there is no hope. Footnote 425. In the previous sentence, the form of madness is your belief that God is your deadly enemy, waiting to pay you back for attacking others while remaining free yourself. However, in this sentence, the form seems to have switched. Now this form seems to refer to the idea from the end of the previous sentence. The fearful thought you can attack another and be free yourself. This means that the rest of the paragraph is about this fearful thought, about going from accepting it and thinking it true, which entails not perceiving its foolishness or even its presence, to questioning it and ultimately seeing that it is entirely impossible. Until you see that this, at least, must be entirely impossible, how could there be escape? The fear of God is real to anyone who thinks this thought is true, and he will not perceive its foolishness or even see that it is there so that it would be possible to question it. To question it at all, its form must first be changed at least as much as will permit fear of retaliation to abate, and the responsibility returned to some extent to you. 426. Its form must first be changed means that you need to go from believing that you can attack others and escape the immediate consequences yourself, only to be paid back by God later, to believing that attack on others includes within it your own attack on yourself. You need, in other words, to go from believing the form of today's idea that the ego promotes to believing in its real meaning. From there, you can at least consider if you want to go along this painful path. Until this shift has been accomplished, you cannot perceive that it is but your thoughts which bring you fear, and your deliverance depends on you. Our next steps will be easy if you take this one today. From there, we go ahead quite rapidly. For once you understand it is impossible that you be hurt except by your own thoughts, the fear of God must disappear. 427. When you realize that only your own attack thoughts have been crucifying you, you will realize God is not the one who has been crucifying you, and so you will no longer fear him. You do not now believe that fear is caused without, and God, whom you had thought to banish, can be welcomed back. Within the holy mind he never left. Salvation's song can certainly be heard in the idea we practice for today. If it can be, but you crucify, you did not hurt the world, and need not fear its vengeance and pursuit. Nor need you hide in terror from the deadly fear of God projection hides behind. 428. The fear of God, in other words, is not a response to objective reality. Hiding behind it is its real source, your own projection. You have projected onto God your fear of the thing in your own mind that has been crucifying you. What paragraph 11 calls the murderer perceived within you. The thing you dread the most is your salvation. You are strong, and it is strength you want, and you are free and glad of freedom. You have sought to be both weak and bound because you feared your strength and freedom. Yet salvation lies in them. There is an instant in which terror seems to grip your mind so wholly that escape appears quite hopeless. When you realize once and for all that it is you fear, the mind perceives itself as split. And this had been concealed while you believed attack could be directed outward and returned from outside to within. It seemed to be an enemy outside you had to fear, and thus a God outside yourself became your mortal enemy, the source of fear. Now for an instant is a murderer perceived within you, eager for your death, intent on plotting punishment for you until the time when it can kill at last. Yet in this instant is the time as well in which salvation comes, for fear of God has disappeared, and you can call on Him to save you from illusions in His love, calling Him Father and yourself His Son. Pray that the instant may be soon, today. Step back from fear and make advance to love. There is no thought of God that does not go with you to help you reach that instant and to go beyond it quickly, surely, and forever. When the fear of God is gone, there are no obstacles which still remain between you and the holy peace of God. How kind and merciful is the idea we practice. Give it welcome as you should, for it is your release. It is indeed but you your mind can try to crucify. Yet your redemption too will come from you. And that is the conclusion of this lesson. Please join me for commentary by Robert Perry and Alan Watson, and also the separate video, which will be the meditation. Thank you. I love you. For Robert Perry and Alan Watson's commentary on Lesson 196 for July 15th. It can be but myself I crucify. The purpose of this lesson is to realize the truth of today's idea and thereby take an important step forward so that you may go ahead from here quickly, taking each future step as it comes to you. We'll have a meditation at least 5 minutes, ideally 30 or more. As usual with these final lessons of Part 1, we are given no specific instructions. We are simply told to take a major step forward in our awakening by practicing today's idea. To do this, we must see the idea not as a statement that we are doomed to continually crucify ourselves, but as a statement of liberation which contains the light of resurrection and salvation's song. Our belief in the opposite of today's idea, that we can crucify others yet remain free ourselves, has unconsciously convinced us that God is our deadly enemy, who has been using the world's injustices to punish us for our unkindness. Today's idea is the antidote for that. We must devote our practicing to doing our utmost to realize the truth of this idea. This may involve in applying it to specific examples in our life, or perhaps letting related thoughts come, or some other practice. The idea contains the most wonderful news that we never actually crucify others, and therefore that God is not out to punish us. Instead, there is a murderer within us who tricks us into attacking others so that it can crucify us from within. We must strive today to realize this. We must pray to enter into an instant of profound inner discovery in which we look upon the murderer within and realize that it, not God, is the source of all our pain. Only then can we truly, deeply view God as our friend and call on Him to save us from the murderer within. On the hour for 1 or 2 minutes as the hour strikes, or as time permits, search your mind for the happenings of the previous hour in which you felt crucified by the world, or in which you felt tempted to crucify others. In response to each one, repeat the idea. This is a restatement of one of the fundamental lessons of the Course, the first step of forgiveness in another form. Taking the problem back from outside ourselves, withdrawing projection, and seeing that I am doing this to myself. The ego likes to misuse this idea to punish us or to make us think we inevitably punish ourselves. The ego makes us think we are inherently self-destructive. The truth is, we do self-destructive things, but we have a choice in the matter. We don't have to do that, and at the core, it is not our will to do so. We are not devils, we are the Holy Son of God. The block to awareness this lesson addresses is our belief that we have injured or crucified the world. It is the belief that we have made ourselves into monsters who cannot be trusted, ready to lash out without provocation to hurt and to kill. The Course calls the acceptance of today's idea that any way in which we crucify another is actually crucifying ourselves. One step we take in leading us from the bondage to the state of perfect freedom. It urges us to take every step in its appointed sequence, that is, not to skip steps. Today's idea is a step that is differentiating self from the body and the ego. Thus do you teach your mind that you are not an ego. You will not believe you are a body to be crucified. Because we believe we made ourselves into egos, we think we are guilty. Because we believe in guilt, we made the body to suffer punishment. Recognizing that we are the ones inflicting punishment upon ourselves is the first step in freeing ourselves from the whole mess. To recognize that we are the ones inflicting punishment, we have to step back from the ego and the body and become aware of a greater part of ourselves. We thus realize that the self is something other than the ego or body, something greater than both. This something greater also includes my brothers and my sisters. We are all a part of the self. The others I thought I injured are really parts of myself. If I believe that I can attack another and be free myself, I am really reacting, says the lesson, from a hidden fear of God, from the belief that God is other, an enemy who awaits to destroy me. My relationship to those around me always reflects the unconscious belief I have about my relationship to God, the ultimate unity and whole. The fear of God is real to anyone who thinks this thought that I can attack another and be free myself is true. If I can attack another and still be free, so can God. Therefore, God is to be feared. Paragraph 7 seems crucial to me. It is saying that the thought I can attack others and still be free has to be changed in form before I can even question the idea, at least to the point where I stop being afraid of retaliation and start to become responsible. Start to realize that it is but your thoughts that bring you fear and your deliverance depends on you. If I begin to realize I am not attacking others but attacking myself, I can stop being afraid of retaliation from these others I thought that I was attacking. Before this thought changes, I am afraid of others. After it changes, I realize my fear is coming from my own thoughts. If that is true, I have the potential for changing those thoughts. It seems to me from the lesson that the turning point, the point at which the fear begins to abate, is found in paragraph 9, sentence 2. If it can but be you, you crucify, you did not hurt the world and need not fear its vengeance and pursuit. Freedom from fear of vengeance from the world is the start of freedom from fear of God. When God can be welcomed back within the holy mind he never left. I feared my own strength and freedom because I thought I was dangerous. I thought I was a threat to the world. I thought that I had injured it. No wonder I don't want to be strong and free. If I were, I might destroy the universe. I thought I might attack and damage things to the point where the universe would turn in anger and wipe me from the face of the earth. In fact, I have secretly believed all along that this describes things exactly as they are, and that is why I have been afraid, both of the world and of God. The Course seems to be saying here that our unconscious fear of ourselves, hidden by our projection of cause to outside factors, has to become conscious, at least for a brief, terrifying moment, when you realize once and for all that it is you fear. The mind perceives itself as split. Now, for an instant, as a murderer perceived within you, eager for your death, intent on plotting punishment for you until the time when it can kill at last. This seems like a terrible moment. Why would we deliberately seek it? Yet, in this instant is the time as well in which salvation comes. Now, seeing the enemy within instead of outside our minds, we no longer have reason to fear God. Recognition of our own terrible responsibility makes us realize that it has not been God punishing us. It has been ourselves. We stop projecting our own dreams of vengeance onto God, and you can call on Him to save you from illusions by His love, calling Him Father and yourself His Son. Thank you so much for joining with me in this very powerful lesson. It can be, but myself I crucify. Please join me for the meditation. I love you.